We might only have 2 games on tonight's NBA betting slate, but that still didn't stop me from finding some NBA player props for us to take for tonight, Thursday, November 16th. I have 2 NBA player props for you guys to hammer. We had a good day yesterday, which was nice because I had been pretty hit or miss on the NBA player props so far this season. Last night, I gave out 4 picks on this YouTube channel. We got 3 of those 4 to cash. We end the night plus 2.64 units, which was awesome. Although the one play that missed was Jason Tatum 30 plus points, and you're never going to guess how many points he ended up with. That's right, he ended with exactly 29. If he just made one more point, then we would have cashed all 4. But we will take a 3-in-1 day. As I mentioned, to give a recap on the season as a whole, it has been hit or miss so far. We are up 1.9 units season to date with just a little bit above 2% ROI. Now, don't look at the win-loss record. I started off the season giving out very, very plus money plays. I'm talking plus 300 and above. Obviously, if you hit one of 3 of those plays, you are making money. I have since changed my strategy a little bit because the success wasn't there with those long shot plays. So from here on out, win percentage is going to matter, but the most important thing is always going to be the total profit and loss. Nice to be back in the green after yesterday. As I mentioned, we got 2 today. Real quick, if you're not already, would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow along with this NBA player prop journey. And let's get into today's picks. So the first play that we're going to go ahead and lock in here is in the first game of the evening, the Nets versus Heat, and we're taking Duncan Robinson under 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. This is at minus 105 odds at DraftKings, so under 21.5 PRA. So this line opened up at 22.5, and it's already been bet down just to 21.5 just overnight. Obviously, one stat isn't a huge deal, but still shows that people are on the under. And I understand that people are going to be high on Duncan just in terms of his stats in general because Tyler Hero is out. That is not something that I am necessarily buying into. I don't think that he's going to consistently put up the type of stats that he has the past 2 games. And yes, if you are looking at those 2 games and want to extrapolate that out with every game Tyler Hero's out, then yeah, you're going to want to hammer these Duncan Robinson props. Because he crushed the total the past 2 games, over 30 in the terms of PRA, adding them all together the past 2 games. But with that said, the game prior to those 2, he went under this number. So he's played 3 games this year without Tyler Hero, and he's gone over twice and under once. The reason why I think that what happened the past 2 games isn't something that you're going to be able to replicate moving forward is look at the matchups of both of those teams, the Spurs and the Hornets. A, both those teams are terrible. B, and this is the most important thing, is they both play at a pretty fast pace. So that just leaves a lot of opportunity to just rack up stats, right? A lot of possessions mean lots of stats. The Nets and the Heat both play at a relatively below average pace. They're not among the slowest. They're not like a snail's pace, but they're also not among the fastest in the league as well. So they're just not going to be as many chances to accumulate as many stats as he's gotten the past 2 games. As I mentioned, prior to those past 2 games, he went under this number. And if you include last year's data and you isolate it and you filter it specifically with Tyler Hero out, Duncan Robinson has played 33 total games without Tyler Hero, including these 3 and last year. He has only gone over this number, over 21.5 points, rebounds, assists. 4 of those 33 games. And yes, that does include the past 2 games. So prior to this season, if you want to look at last year, he had gone under in 27 of 29 games. It's just ridiculous how often he was going under. And in those 33 games, and this is, again, including this year, he's averaged over 20 minutes per game in terms of playing time. So it wasn't like he was completely out of the rotation. Now, his playing time has increased this year. He is averaging, the past 2 games, 35 plus minutes in both games, 30 minutes in the 3rd game in which he missed this stat. But even if he does play heavier minutes than the 20 that he was averaging in that span, I still like for him to go under this number because I don't think, again, with the lack of possessions, I don't think Duncan Robinson is going to have as much success as he had the past 2 games. So that is my first play of the evening, the Duncan Robinson one, -105 odds at DraftKings. Next up in the Thunder versus Warriors game, we're taking Klay Thompson over 6.5 rebounds plus assists. This is at +120 odds at ESPN Bet. It's also at +110 at Caesars if you don't have ESPN Bet yet, or you're like me and they don't let you bet more than $10. So I know that both of these plays are a little bit more of the random markets than what I normally do. But if I'm being honest, none of the main lines, the main normal markets for tonight's slate really jumped out to me. And I also didn't like anything of the pumped up variety, which I have been doing as well. And I didn't want to force anything for the sake of having a pick. I'd rather go for something that I think has a better chance of hitting, which is exactly what I did with the Duncan one. And I really like this Klay Thompson one quite a bit. It's a little bit more of a niche market, but I really like it. No Steph, no Draymond tonight for the Warriors. I'm still not quite there yet with Klay as a scorer, so I know a lot of people are going to want to hammer his points. I don't know. He hasn't looked great as a scorer, so I'm sitting that one out. But in terms of the other stats, I do like his chances, right? So far this year, he's played in 3 games without Draymond Green. He's gone over 6.5 points, rebounds plus assists in all 3 games. He's averaging over 5 rebounds and 2.7 assists in those 3 games. One game he hit just with rebounds alone. Another game he had 6 rebounds, so it's very close to hitting this over. And in the other game, he had 4 assists and 3 rebounds. So he's been pretty productive without Draymond. If you open this data back up to last year without Draymond Green, he has hit this in 7 straight games that Draymond has missed. Now, if you look specifically in games that Steph Curry missed, obviously we're not counting the most recent one where he got ejected 1 minute into the game. Last year, he played in 20 games without Steph. He went over this number in exactly 10 of those 20 games. So even if you project this to have a 50% win percentage, we're getting it for pretty juicy odds at +120 or +110. And I actually think this has an above 50% win percentage. And then the sample size for this one is obviously tiny. He's played in 4 games without both Steph and Draymond. And he's hit this in 2 of those 4 games, but he did hit it in the most recent 2. So the logic with this one is the fact that without Steph and without Draymond, he's just going to need to take a little bit more of a playmaking role, whether that means assists, whether that means rebounds. We just need him to get 7 combined, which he's done consistently with these guys out of the lineup. So I like this one a lot for plus money. Rounding out our second and final pick of the evening. 2 picks for you guys to tail. If we get the Klay one to cash, we are profitable. If we get the Duncan one to cash and not the Klay one, then we are just breaking even. If we get both, well, I'm not going to say we'll be rich, but it would be nice to get both. And that's all we got. So 2 plays for you guys to lock in. If you're riding, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff helps me out a ton. And have a good one.